Hello, Selectors, and welcome to the Life Burst Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Wixossy things.
Ooh, all the Wixossy things.
All
and
of the
only
Wixossy.
Wixossy things.
That's true. That's the tends to be the only thing we talk about.
Yep.
Hey, so as much as I'm normally the guy leading the charge at making jokes here and whatnot, we wanted to talk about a actual maybe issue within the Wixoss community and something that probably should be brought to light. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, I think we just want to talk about our, thoughts, feelings, and experiences.
Yeah, and some general concerns brought up from the community to our channel, and I think it's probably worth diving into.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with the Wixoss ceremonies.
Yes, so as we tell you guys in the beginning of most podcasts, we like to cover the more competitive side of Wixoss, and sometimes that includes talking about our experiences with competitions, not just with the players or the gameplay, but the actual competitions themselves.
Yeah, and so, normally we say at this point there's a, comment down below with what your thoughts are on this type of thing. I actually would like to say instead, in the description box of this, I have provided 2 emails. The first one's more important than the second one, that you can send a template message, which I've also provided, that just says what the concerns are. Mm-hmm. That we have with the ceremonies and the way that sort of like the tournament structure in general is being handled in the United States, North America, and just some thoughts and solutions. It's pretty sweet and simple to the point. Tried to make the wording simple so that way it can be read easily and translated easily into Japanese. Mm-hmm. And it's just the truth is. I'm not even sure if Tomy's aware of the discomfort in the community about this type of thing. Mm-hmm. I think they might be blind to it because, again, there's a language barrier, and also it's just I don't think words really reaching to them because no one's reaching out to them.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what I think might be best is if you take anything from this video, down below, again, there is 2 emails. You can throw them in an email, and then you can throw the template email that I put together there. Unless you have your own thoughts and concerns, you can tweak it as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
And then, Tiffany, you had some disclaimers you wanted to say.
Yeah, a couple disclaimers that I want to put out before we really get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast. We are not attacking anyone. We're not attacking Takara Tomy. We're not coming after the people that are running the U.S. ceremonies. We don't want this to be like a hot take kind of podcast. We're literally just talking about our experiences, thoughts, and feelings, and some concerns and things that, we would like to see be better in the future. So please don't go, attacking anyone. You're more than welcome to have your own thoughts and opinions, but as always, please be constructive and kind because we just want things to be better. We're not trying to cancel anybody.
Right.
So
right.
I and many of you guys out there in the Wixoss community are really, really nice. So I don't have any concerns that anyone will go charging off with flaming wings on their back.
And at default, right, the template email down below does not have aggressive language. It's just made very simply so that it can be translated into Japanese. I have a little bit of shipping background with that type of thing, so I tried to use my best email voice for it.
Yeah.
But and I also want to say, I know there's some heat in the community against maybe Carta Magica, who runs these events, and I think the heat is maybe a little unwarranted.
Maybe just a little bit, yeah.
Just because yes, they're struggling to put together an event that is completely web-based and web-based
and huge
and pretty big. And there was issues. I won't say there wasn't issues, but there was issues. And I think that it could have been handled better. But I also think that it's fine to recognize that people had a hard time making something work that maybe that was a little bit difficult, and maybe I don't know what goes down at Carta Magica, and I also don't know what their communication with Tomy was either. So I don't know where the blame lies for those couple things that happened. But we're not going to be covering that in this podcast. I just simply wanted to bring that there was some concerns up from the community.
Yeah. So let's get into it. First of all, as far as like how we did in the ceremony goes, we're not going to go in depth in it. I ended up going 3-4, so the same as I did in the first ceremony. And how did you do?
I went 5-2, so I got 21st place. I took a round 1 loss, which means that, again, an issue maybe with the tournament structures, because I took a round 1 loss, I basically was not going to make top 16 no matter what I did.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into that then, because I think that was a major issue with a lot of people.
So not even making top 16 is not even my concern here, right? Like, yes, both you and I like ranking, right? But the issue is less about that. And I was unjustly mad in my first round because I made a mistake and was kind of rule called on it, and then just was a little like stinky for the rest of it. And to my round 1 opponent, I want to apologize that I was stinky like that. And that was unfair of me. But it was not that I was mad at you. I was mad at the tournament structure, right? Because the way that Swiss works, because I took a round 1 loss, my breakers would never work in my favor anymore after this. So, and it's not even, again, the rank, it's the prizing. Because this tournament was different than the other ones, where if you got top 16, you got a play mat. And if you got anything else, right, that's below top 16, you got a participation promo. The same thing that people get when they drop.
And what were the participation prizes this time?
They were the pieces, and that's cool. I mean, it is the same participation promo as that you would get at your locals, though. So you think I spent $30 to get and a lot of time and effort to get something I get at my locals. I will be getting at my locals anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because the people who play these, generally speaking, are also people who play the locals.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an issue. I went 0-1, and then for what it's worth, did really well. And you know that I get tournament pressure. I put tournament pressure on myself.
Yeah.
Really well to center myself, to be like, okay, back to the center, keep winning, and then went undefeated until round 6, where I took a very close loss, and then won my last round and went 5-2, which is a sort of Cinderella story from losing round 1. And 5-2 is a reasonable thing to go, right? 21st place is a reasonable placement. It's in top 32, right? And if my breakers were different, right? If I got my rounds lost things, I might have been top 16.
Yeah.
And I got nothing really out of it that anyone who went for the first round and dropped got. I got the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's deflating. It's unrewarding.
Speaking of drops, I think we started the ceremony with 150 participants.
Yep.
How many slots were there? Like 200 slots?
There was close to 200, yeah.
Yeah. So there were close to 200 slots. 150 people signed up. And then throughout the ceremony, we had 75 people drop out.
That's half.
That's half, which is really disheartening to think that, people... Well, I know that some people had, like, scheduling issues, but, some people really just felt disheartened that, after a first and second loss, there was really no point for them to continue until the third round where they could guarantee a promo.
Exactly, and some people even messaged me that. They were like, well, I lost my first round, and I lost my third round, so I can't make any prizing, so I'd rather do my rest of my day, so I'm going to go ahead and drop. Like, that's what they messaged me on Discord.
Which is really sad, but the double-edged sword of that is not only do you have people feeling unmotivated to continue in a ceremony, which is bad for a game that you would like to see people continue to play, but it really affects the placement.
Yeah, you'd think, right? When we went into round 7, we had 3 undefeated players, right? Which could have led to an 8th round, which is part of the tournament structure.
Shoulda, maybe.
But here's the big part. You think that the people who lost, right? The person who is in second place currently, or first and second place because they were undefeated, right? The person who lost should probably be in second place.
That would make sense.
Yes, that person dropped to 9th place. And to be clear here, prizing was top 16, top 8, top 4.
So even though they went undefeated the entire ceremony,
Right,
except
and then
once,
except
they
once.
dropped out of 8th prizing, which
Yeah. Completely out of prizing.
I understand that there's like a math algorithm behind that, and due to the drops, that's where they would have placed. Just because it makes sense mathematically doesn't make it fair.
Right, and it was, and I want to be clear here, probably an extenuating circumstance being that half the tournament did drops. And the reason those half the tournament did drops, if you would ask them, they would say it's because they felt unrewarded or that it wasn't worth going to completion to. And because of that, there was just a sheer amount of drops, right?
Yeah.
And it screwed people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crappy.
Oh yeah, that's really crappy. If I was that person, I would, I don't know how I would feel, but I definitely wouldn't feel very good.
Yeah.
Maybe to the point that I might not want to do those ceremonies anymore.
Exactly.
Which is horrible.
We've had friends who have already said it. Some of our more competitive friends, mind you, in our locals, have been
Yeah.
like, I don't really want to support this type of structure. And
Yeah.
they've just not done it. And it's a shame. Like, and the worst part is, ceremony 1, you and I felt awesome doing it.
Yeah,
right?
it was super fun. It was
Yeah.
really cool, and even though we had a couple drops, you know, it was really
We felt
fun to
like-
have like a large competition.
Yeah, we felt like we could live the dream. And by the way, I counted how many drops we had in the first one. We had 20.
20 drops out of, I think it was like 130 slots.
Right. And then we, in the second one, I worked my butt off to get my 5th placement, and I felt relieved when I hit 5-1, because I was like, oh, I've made top 32 now, I'm gonna get a playmat no matter what, I can live it out from here, it's fine, right? I missed out on top 8, or what did I miss? I missed out on top 4, which was annoying, but it was okay. Like that was like I still made top 8, so it was fine. So that was my thought process. And some of my friends who were in the bubble on top 16, you know, I felt bad for them, type of thing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anthony from Replayworks with his 17th Bubble Boys.
Oh.
But he still made, the only thing that was really lost was he did not get his deck list recorded and put online. That's basically it, right? But he still got the mat. He still got all those prizings that came with it. Top 32 feels like you worked hard and you got rewarded. Top 64 feels like anyone could potentially do it if given enough practice. Top 16 feels impossible.
Yeah, that's really hard, especially when you're playing games back to back where the rounds are really short. Like, I know that 5 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but like, that really does make a difference when you're going up against decks like Nova or Madoka, just the decks that tend to run longer, especially in a lot of the locals. It's 40 minutes for round.
Yeah.
And then 5 overtime.
Yeah.
Or
And-
like 40 minutes and then 2 turns.
And I think it would behoove us if we didn't bring up the fact that this is a $30 fee,
Yeah.
which is expensive, right?
Comparatively, locals tend to range around the 5 to 10 mark.
Yeah, to be clear, right? I got top 21, potentially upwards to 17 if my breakers were right? And even if I got up to 17, which is not that far of a placement from top 21, right? My prizing would have been the same as someone who dropped, or if I went to my locals and spent $10 and got a participation promo, right? It's just worth mentioning that the pricing point, 30 can be a lot for some people.
Yeah, it can, especially, you know, I know a lot of people are feeling the squeeze in the American economy just from gas prices alone.
Right, you got to travel out to these stores that might have them, that might, like, we go an hour
Yeah.
to get to various locals, and some people have messaged me and said, an hour, wow, that would be amazing, I do too, you know.
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
that's crazy.
And
That's-
a lot of people are college students
Yeah.
who play this game. That's a lot of the demographic is college students.
It's tough. It's tough for sure, especially because, you know, it's really good to always support your local game stores, especially for smaller games like this, because it really ends up making a difference for them and for you for building a community.
Yeah.
So to know that it could be cheaper to drive out to a local with a cheaper entrance fee and get potentially better pricing compared to the $30 fee to do it online, that's some math right there.
Yeah, agreed. And I wanna point out, like, guys, I do also want to state this. There is a Discord card shop called Loot Card. They do weekly events.
Loot Card?
Loot Card.
Okay.
They do weekly events, right? I placed 5th in their and they only had like 20 people in that one, right? I placed 5th. And I got more prizing from them than I did doing the ceremony. Right? Like I got 5th place at Loot Card, and I got 5th place at the national ceremony.
Yep.
And I got better prizing from the online weekly event at Loot Card.
And what's the entrance fee?
$10.
$10 for Loot Card, yeah, which is on par with a lot of the locals. Now, as far as the prizing ratio per player, this, it could be due to a couple things. With Loot Card, because you only have 20 participants and a smaller entry fee, there's a more likelihood that there's more to spread around, if that makes sense. And then I'm just speculating. I'm just trying to be fair.
I don't think that's fair, because they have $30 per person at this thing. You're telling me that Loot Card can do better with literally 2/3 less per person with the same amount of basically oversight as this other online requirement. I just saying it's
a fair criticism.
I think it's a fair criticism. Yeah. So anyways, to our point, right? The email goes over 2 points. One, it goes over a little bit of the tournament structure, which we talked about, the drops, which were basically spurred on by prizing, and then it talks about prizing, right? These are the two main points in our email that we're sending out, and we're hoping some other people send out something similar. But there is one last thing on the email that's worth discussing before we really go just full on rant about things or discuss things. I guess a rant or discussion, depending on your point.
Sure.
And that is that aside from the low cost, high prizing, high frequency of this event, which is a little less exciting, there is some...
You mean low prizing?
Yeah, sorry, low prizing.
High cost, low prize.
Yeah, you got it. There is actually a solution in place that we could have been using. And the solution exists in Japan. They have it. It's called the Selector point system.
Yeah, let's get into that. Can you explain how that works for the selectors here in the US?
Sure.
Or North America?
I reached out to Philip, who is also a content creator. And Philip has a skill I don't have, which is I can't read Japanese. So Philip supplied me with some information, and I just want to discuss some of these points. Now, Tiffany, you've never really heard of any of this stuff. I literally just got it. It's off the presses.
Ooh, hot.
Hot off the internet presses that have been around for a while.
The Discord press.
The Discord press. So I wanted to talk to you about some stuff here and get your thoughts on this, right?
Okay.
A reminder of, just before we go into it so we can compare and contrast, a reminder of how the US system works, right? We have some places get monthly WeCross parties, right? Parties don't exist in Japan, just to be clear here. Actually, no, they do. Never mind. So we get monthly parties, right? And the parties that we get, there's some participation promos. And in those participation promos, you get some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And the parties, I think, are done right in America. I don't think we have any issue with this.
I think so. They happen frequently enough, but they're not gigantic or overwhelming that they still feel special and doable.
I think some stores maybe should get a higher allocation due to how many people they get. Like the Loot Card tournament gets roughly 20 people per event, so maybe they should get some more. But aside from that, no real grubs, right? It's a monthly event. Cool promos are in it. Sometimes it's based on sometimes it's participation promo. Sometimes it's based on how well you do. Cool. We have that, and then we have ceremonies. And the ceremonies are a webcam big event that we just talked about, small prizing, lots high entrance fee to join. Relatively speaking, 150 players per.
Yeah.
So it's a big event. It is a big event.
It's a big event. It's a North American multi-country event.
Cool. So in Japan, they have a couple other things and a couple things that are different. The first one we probably should cover is just something called the Selector point system, which anyone can be a part of. If you remember Magic the Gathering's DCI, Planeswalker points, it was sort of similar to that. But eventually Magic the Gathering phased it out, and everyone who was in the Magic the Gathering community thought it was a pretty big loss, just because it just felt like participating didn't do much anymore. But they have it, and it's going strong over there.
Nice.
And the thing is, if you join a ceremony over there, you get a certain amount of points. And ceremonies are innately a little different, so bear in mind that it's also based on how many people attend the ceremony as well, that you get a certain amount of participation points.
Yes.
And then based on how well you do, you get extra points, right? So if you get 4th place, 5th place, 1st place, right, you get more points.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Right. You also get points, and here's a big one, for every round you play and every round you win.
I would love to see some incentivization for people
To play the event.
to
play
play
it out.
through the event.
Correct. Yeah.
Which would have solved one of the major problems
Already.
that we saw.
Now, what do you get when you get all these points? Well, the answer is that these seasons that you can accumulate points, usually lasting about 6 months, get a ultra rare promo you can't get otherwise from this type of thing.
Just by accumulating points?
Yep. So if you hit, there's certain, I guess, milestones, right? You hit 200 points, you get a promo card. You hit 400 points, you get another promo card and an even rarer promo card. Then you hit 600 points, you get another promo card. And then you hit 800 points, you get another promo card and that ultra rare promo card again.
Gotcha.
So in the end, if you do 800 points really is the max. You can get more, but it's just for bragging rights at that point.
Right.
I'm getting real big with my hands. I know you guys can't see it, but
yeah, he's getting a little wild over here for those listening.
Because it makes me excited. It's like an exciting thing.
We just love this game.
But yeah, we do. But so if you, at the end of the day, if you got 800 points, you would get 2 big promos and then 4 smaller, a playset of smaller promos that are actually good, right? So the promo art is like fairly cool, and the ones that you can get is Onosa Getsune, and that's your big rare one, so you could get 2 of those if you get 800 points, and then 4 Baphomets, which is going to be a new card coming out in the next set, and it's very good as well.
So if you get the maximum amount of points, not only do you get, essentially, you earn up to a playset of promos, but then you can also get 2 copies of another one.
Yes.
Which also helps to go towards a playset.
Correct.
And if you guys know us at all, you know that trying to get playsets of promos is a big thing for us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you flex once, you flex 4 times. I don't know. Like, you want to get as many as you can.
The cool thing is the decks that run Osa Getsune probably run 2, and the decks that run the Baphomet probably run 4. So it's actually consideration towards the distribution numbers too. But that's cool, and that would be a good reason to play it out, right? Is to get more points. Even if you're not getting quote unquote top prizing, you'll still get points. But this brings us to another point, which is that ceremonies are done differently in Japan than they're done in America. First off, they're in-person events.
I would love in-person events.
And I want to say I didn't stutter when I said events, and that's not to say that they are multiple events held at the same time.
Oh. What do you mean by that?
They're like basically, and excuse my language in here, they're like glorified locals, right?
So like
they're
a bigger
glorified
party.
Yeah, they're a bigger party.
Gotcha.
They're held bi-monthly, which I don't know language. I don't know if that means that they're held twice a month or if they're held every other month. But I think they're held every other month because that seems to be the right timing.
Yeah, twice monthly would be a lot.
Yeah, so I think it's like you get a monthly party, and then every other month there is a ceremony.
Okay.
And the ceremonies there's usually less of them than the parties, right? So
Yeah.
the Atlanta scene, we have around 3 to 4 different local scenes that you could go to if you
Yeah.
wanted to. And
Like once a month, yeah.
each of them hold a party, right? And so it's set up in a way that basically you do a revolving list of stores, right? You go to one for a month, you go to the other for a month, you go to the other for a month, you go to the other for a month, and you're back at the start of the month.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works in Atlanta, and it's cool that it works that way in Atlanta. It doesn't work that way in other places. But the ceremony would be held at one of those bigger stores, right? So we, Atlanta, have a couple smaller stores, and then one of our bigger stores would probably hold
ceremony.
the ceremony.
Okay.
And the ceremony attendance, right, is usually anywhere between 8 to 20. Because again, it's like your entire area is going for it, but it's not huge because there's multiple ceremonies.
Gotcha.
Which means your chances of winning are better.
So is this a little bit closer to like regionals or
No,
something?
no, they're just like a big
Party.
party.
Okay.
And
That sounds fun.
The winners, by the way, the entrance fee for that is worth roughly $10 in American money.
Oh, yeah,
So it's cheaper.
it's cheaper, yeah.
And the winners get special promos as well as playmats.
Oh,
But it's
nice.
usually for top 2 or top 4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But again, if you're maxing out really around 20 people, that number makes a lot more sense than top 16 and 150 people.
Yeah. Yeah. The ratios feel bad on that one.
Yeah, that's
Feels much better with like, if you're gonna do top 8 and then you prize at like top 2,
right.
then that's still a fourth, which I don't know that the math. You know what? I'm bad at math.
The math on I'll tell you what the other math is about 8%. 8% of players in the ceremony would get prizing, whereas 25% in the locals. Again, I want to stress, if you are getting 20, which is a large number in the Japanese ceremonies set up, normally it's actually around 8.
Yeah.
So top 4 is half.
Right.
Or even if you want to say it's 16, it would be about 25%. So look, my point is to say that the prizing structure is better in Japan.
Right.
And
so
also they're in-person events.
So with the ceremonies being like every other month and like some bigger stores are doing it and it's like a big party.
And it's less cost and more prizes, basically. And I'm sorry, less cost and easier to get the prizing.
Okay.
So
we like that.
So it's more rewarding to do it. Yeah, it's like a glorified locals, which is good.
All right. So what else is there?
But that's not to say that we don't have something. So just to be clear here, our ceremonies and Japan ceremonies completely different, right? And that's kind of weird, but it sets the stage for something that Japan's already doing, and we could probably be doing instead, which is instead of running online complete all of United States, Canada, and Mexico tournaments, we could be running GPs. Japan has GPs.
Which is a Grand Prix.
A Grand Prix. So Japan has GPs, and it's an in-person event, one location where everyone goes to. It's literally the equivalent of what we're doing on webcam, but in really real life.
Well, first of all, I would love Grand Prix. Just because I think it would sort of break up how massive the ceremony is, but also I feel like it would just make it more special, because if that's the case, Grand Prix would happen a lot less often than ceremonies, right?
Yeah.
So the ceremonies are
twice
helping.
A year.
Oh yeah, so then the ceremonies are helping you like build up to that moment.
Correct.
And then you have this like big thing.
Right. So if we're gonna rate it, right, parties are basically just your local weekly events at your local store, right?
Yeah.
And it could be monthly, they can be weekly, whatever, whatever they do.
Yeah.
They just use the allocation differently. Some stores, for example, do that. They instead of doing
one big party
and then giving out all the promos there, they piecemeal it across a month to do multiple events, which is totally acceptable.
Whatever they wanna
your
do.
TO is within their rights to do that. That's what they're saying, is that however they want to divide it, their distribution, they can.
And then you have the
So you have
ceremonies.
Yep, which are just like one step up, being like, all right, it's like basically the equivalent of game days in Magic. Like, we're all here, we're doing our best. We're not just throwing together a deck that we think is fun. We're maybe putting a meta deck together because we're here to win at this point.
Okay.
And then GPs are like, okay, cool, time to go to a big event in person and really try against other competitors who are playing competitively.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to also talk about what the pricing is for that, the cost of it, the cap, right? There's a 250 player cap. The tournament structure is completely different than what we do. They do Swiss up until top 16, and then they do single elimination after top 16. That way you don't have questions about placements that Swiss does not cover. The entrance fee is $10, so it's not expensive to join the GP either. Although I wouldn't mind if it was a big event with big prizing, paying something equivalent to it. But just saying, so the comparisons in Japan, it's $10. Then their top prizing is you get the participation promos, the same as the Wixoss parties. Top 16 got an alternate art Xenocluster, so we got that for top 1.
Yeah.
And then we got that for top 3, which is a weird number in this last one. Top 16 got it. Then you also get other placement stuff too. So 4th place got a paper certificate. 3rd place got a paper certificate and a Xenocluster top loader. Same thing as 2nd place. And 1st place got a special plaque and then the Xenocluster top loader, as well as a paper certificate saying congratulations.
What's a
you're
top
the first.
loader? Like a binder?
No. Top loaders are like the hard plastics.
Oh.
But they just they have a print on the back.
Oh, that's cool.
So you could put your level 0 sleepies in it. Like that's the thought, right? Anyways, you also got you got points for participating in it.
Like a lot of points.
Like a lot of points for the selector circuit. Or sorry, the selector circuit. The selector,
That's coming up later.
Selector points, right? If you made top 16, you got 100 points. If you made top 8, you got 150 points. Top 4 got you 200 points. Top 3 got you 250. 2nd place got you 300, and 1st place got you 500. So again, you're trying to get up to 800. So if you got 1st place at a GP, you basically did it, you know?
Yeah.
But
that's 500 additional points to what you've earned on your way getting there, right?
Yeah, participation and also every
Wins.
round that you win. Yeah.
So
plus anything you did at the ceremonies.
That's a lot of incentive for sure.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely, I think incentivize new players to play for sure. But also keep old, more seasoned players playing, especially like throughout events. I think that would probably solve a lot of issues that all those things would solve a lot of issues that I'm feeling, and I'm sure other people are feeling, other selectors are feeling. So
yeah,
this sounds good to me.
The only thing I can say about our tournament structure here in America is I was extremely excited for the first one, and that had a lot to do with the fact that I've never done super well at a tournament, and I felt like even I could maybe do it, and I did, barely, but I did. And then the second one, I was really ready to go. And I was like, top 32 is hard to make, but I think I can do it if I do enough prep work. I did the 64 last time. Maybe this could do it. And I worked my butt off, and I got a really good placement.
Yeah,
and
you did.
And it felt justified. But other people also felt happy there in that one. This one, a lot of people don't feel super excited. They were deflated. They felt unrewarded, and they felt like this was just another thing happening. Plus, a lot of people were like, I don't exactly know why I'm doing a heavy competition, 150 people, for basically no incentive whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so you were only doing the Wixoss tournament or the Wixoss ceremony if you wanted to try to place international or nationally, right? That was really the only goal.
Like if you're just looking for rank,
right? And even then, the rank doesn't reward you with anything other than bragging rights, whereas you would get selector points if it were Japan. So I do think that the email that you can send has those top 2 points in it, right? The prizing is unrewarding for our current ceremony for what it is, right? Our ceremonies are basically GPs, and our ceremonies should probably be glorified locals if they were going to keep the same amount of prizing.
Larger parties. Yeah, I think we should just really follow the Japanese structure a little bit more closely, which is something that the email goes into.
Yeah. And then it also talks about, the structure is a little messed up because of the de-incentivification on playing. And I do think that, I mean, here, I'll put it out to you. This is the first time you're hearing this information. The first time I got the information. Do you like the tournament structure in Japan?
I think it sounds a lot more balanced. I think it sounds a lot more exciting. It's just from hearing what you've talked about, I would prefer it over how we're doing it now. Because me personally, my main issues with the ceremony structure is that one of the biggest issues I have is that they just happen way too often. So fast. Like, I feel like, even as a content creator, I feel like all we can ever talk about is prepping for the next ceremony, because it happens every, 3.5 to 4 weeks, which is way too often for something that's supposed to feel like a super big deal.
Yeah, but would you feel that way if it was just one of our bigger game stores locals that did that every other month, and they was just like, oh, yep, here's the big event?
No, I wouldn't, especially if it's happening every other month, because then that allows me to actually use the parties and any sort of weekly games that I have to actually truly do some prep that's actually worth anything, because I'm getting more reps in, if that makes sense. Whereas, if you're playing in your locals, let's say that you can maybe make it to 3 local games, 2 local games in a party, right? And then you have a ceremony coming up. Okay, so that's 4 reps that you can put in. But if we're doing a ceremony every other month, now you can get 8 reps in, really start doing some tech, really start getting involved with the community and playing with other players, and actually get some more solid numbers for the ceremony. Yeah. That's just how I feel. But in addition to that, having something like the thought of going to a GP and wanting to go through, doing all of the locals and doing all the ceremonies and then building up to that, I would really like to see that. I want our ceremonies to feel like they are grand events that you have had time to prepare and work up to.
You're saying the GPs, not the ceremonies.
Yeah. And we don't have Grand Prix right now, which is why I don't have anything to compare that to. Right. And they just don't feel like that. Agreed. In fact, they feel almost like I kind of dreaded going to this ceremony again. One, because I didn't do so hot in the last one, and I had some competitive player baggage about that. But also because it just came so fast, I really didn't have any time to prepare. I didn't feel confident going into the ceremony at all. Not to mention, which would be my next point, the prize to player ratio, which we've talked at length before, not super incentive. Yeah. I played anyway because I wanted to, I like trying to rank, or at least seeing that I can get a better placement with each ceremony, and that's why I played all the way through. Yeah. But I definitely didn't go in for prizes, because there really wasn't anything there.
I think a lot of our community is going to agree with you, Tiffany, because the truth is, we hit player cap pretty immediately with the first Wixoss ceremony. And then the second Wixoss ceremony, we hit it pretty quickly as well, right? Within 2 hours or something of it going live. This one, we didn't hit they increased the player cap and we didn't hit it.
Yeah.
And the reason has less to do with people are playing less Wixoss and more to do with the prize incentives weren't there.
Yeah, what would be the point?
Right. And the prize incentives get better if you turn the ceremonies into mega parties. Yeah. Even if you replaced every other months with party with a ceremony, that would be more exciting. and it would be better for the players.
So my last point is that I just want more in-person events.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be rude, just trying to be honest and frank. I really don't get super excited about webcam games.
I think a lot of people agree.
Really hard to see. Sometimes the audio is bad. Sometimes the connection is bad and it slows you down. Sometimes you have stuff happening in the background, like maybe you have like a dog that's barking their head off, like sometimes we do, and it can be very distracting. And it's just really hard to communicate with the other player. Like, sometimes I need to physically read a card, okay? And I just want more in-person events. I want to feel the energy of being around people and being able to read and interact much more effectively with my opponent in person. And there's been some feedback on that to say that, well, the ceremony is only $30. It's saving you, a plane ride and hotel fees and stuff. I don't really care, to be honest. For the experience of going and being competitive and meeting up with my friends from all across the country who like to play Wixoss and just like having like a community come together, I'll pay for that. I would much prefer to pay for that. And I might be alone in that because, as we've said earlier, a lot of people are feeling sometimes these things can be hard to justify the price for. But me personally, I want to go in person. I want to go to a convention center and play.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, just sometimes there was a comment that I read about wanting more in-person ceremonies, and it basically was like, yeah, the 240p webcam just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, it is difficult.
It's a fair opinion.
So anyways, guys, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it on this one. Sorry this one was a less fun
bit of a downer.
one, and had a little bit of negative energy into it. But I did think it was important that I heard
that we talk about.
Yeah,
this.
I heard some talking about this type of thoughts at the last ceremony.
Yeah,
and we didn't say anything because we didn't want to stir up trouble or like make a witch hunt or anything like that.
Yeah, we're definitely not trying to witch hunt here, but also we didn't fully feel the same we didn't have really the same opinions that other people were having with the ceremony, and we do try and be really positive on here, but this go around we felt it was important to just share our thoughts and feelings with you guys, and we're more than happy to have you guys comment your own experiences and thoughts in the comment section down below. Yeah. We would love that. Maybe to end on a little lighter note, I would love to give a couple shout outs for people that I met throughout the ceremony.
You're so much better at that than I am.
I have a notebook.
Well, before you go into your positive again, I do want to apologize to my round 1 loss. I was very aggro after I made a mistake, and it was just I was super annoyed. It had nothing to do with that player. I will not put their name out there, but I will. I'm actually hitting them up on Discord as we speak and apologizing for it. So I just wanted to put that out in the air that even sometimes I got a little aggro and emotional, and I shouldn't have. So that's my fault. Go ahead and do your shout-outs. These are the positive ones. Yay!
This is the fun ones. Meeting up with you guys and just meeting new people at the ceremonies always makes the journey so much better. So I wanted to give a shout-out to Matt from Center Stage Gaming. They have their own Twitch channel over there, and they run a couple different games, as well as I think they own a store as well, if I'm not mistaken. So that's SCG, and thank you, Matt, for playing with me. The next person I would like to shout out is actually a regular commenter of ours. They go by Jigs. So Jigs, thank you so much for playing with me in round 4. It was a lot of fun. Let's see. I want to make sure that I got another one. Yes. Round 5, we have another selector coming in. His name is Sam. He's from Mexico. So thank you so much. Bienvenidos. I really appreciated our game together. And let's see. I believe it was round 6. I'm so sorry I didn't catch the name of this person. But I had a really good time playing with them. I ended up losing that round. It was up against Nova, but they just had really good energy, and even though I lost I really enjoyed that particular round. If you're listening out there and that's you, please shout out in the comment section down below. I would love to play against you again. So thank you so much, Selectors, for always having a great attitude with this game. I know that with ceremony formats like this, or sometimes you just play a bad game, it can get really frustrating and it can be hard to stay positive about this game. But just so you know, playing with this community always helps to sweeten bad experiences, if that makes sense. So thank you so much for commenting, liking, and subscribing. We hope to see you in future ceremonies. We'll see how things possibly change in the future. Andrew, do you have any closing thoughts?
I have a lot of closing thoughts. Mostly my closing thoughts is I'm going to hit send on that email now.
All right.
But, after we talk, so.
All right. Well, as always, may you always flip a life burst, and please be kind with your criticism. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.